Welcome into a historic episode of Lock City MMA. We are fighting at the White House. Let's make some money. And let's start right with the main event. We have Ilya Topuria versus Justin Gaethje. Now, I'm a big Justin Gaethje fan. He lives and trains out of Denver, and that's where I currently live. He's never had a boring fight. He's one of the most entertaining fighters you'll ever see inside the octagon. He has heavy hands. He's got really powerful low kicks, and he can wrestle if needed. The problem is he's going against the champ, Ilya Topuria. This guy is insane. He's just on a different level when it comes to boxing. He is super elite with his hands, combos, and counters. He's literally just knocked out three of the best lightweights ever. He knocked out Charles Oliveira. He knocked out Max Holloway, who's never been knocked out, by the way. The first person ever to knock him out, and Alexander Volkanovski, who's been the champ, who was the guy for how many years? So I just hate the matchup for Justin here. I think that Ilya is going to come out and just headhunt. Justin's going to come out flying with leg kicks. I think he might even try to wrestle because if he tries to stand and bang with Ilya Topuria, that is just not going to go your way. And it's proved in over time that Justin needs to figure out a way to win. This is literally his last run. If he loses this fight, he will retire. He's 37 years old, turning 38 here in a couple months, and Ilya's 29. He's coming into his prime, so I don't like that as well. And I just don't see any point of this where Justin can win. Ilya is an elite grappler as well. He actually got on top of Charles Oliveira, put him in a crucifix. We're talking about Charles Oliveira, who's one of the greatest submission artists of all time. So I just don't see any point in this fight where Justin Gaethje is better than Ilya. So I think it's just a matter of time. I think Justin might be able to scramble enough to get through the first round. But by the time the second round comes, Ilya's going to have his timing, his reach, and I think he's just going to knock Justin out. I think this is one of the easiest calls on the card, and you gotta bet big on it. Ilya Topuria over Justin Gaethje by knockout. I think round two. All right, in the co-main event, we have Alex Pereira versus Ciryl Gane. This will be for the interim heavyweight championship. Now, we have to have this fight because Ciryl Gane eye poked Tom Aspinall, the champ, and he's needed multiple eye surgeries, so they had to do something to keep the division going. The crazy part is Alex Pereira moving up to heavyweight. I didn't think he would ever do this. 205 is a perfect weight class for him. So I'm super curious to see how he fills out moving up to heavyweight. So his power, you can't deny it, it's still going to be there. It's good enough to knock out Ciryl Gane for sure. He has elite leg kicks. The only problem is he doesn't have any wrestling offensively. He has pretty good takedown defense, and he's been working with Glover Teixeira for years now. So you have to believe that when he's on his back, he won't be panicked at least, and he should have a general idea of how to get up. Now, the guy he's fighting, Ciryl Gane, who's a true heavyweight, in his last couple fights here, he's beaten some really big names. Volkov by split decision. Spivak, he knocked him out, and that was a crazy knockout. He lost to John Jones, but if you look here, that was 3 years ago. This guy was kind of taking breaks. He was kind of picking his fights, but he really is a good fighter. He has a good jab. He's really good at feigning as well, which with a typical Alex Pereira fight, he's trying to not really push the pace. So what Ciryl Gane will do is just take his time. He'll feint. He'll throw his jabs in. I think he'll avoid the leg kicks. He's going to mix in some wrestling. Now, I don't know if he's going to get any takedowns. I would have to believe he gets at least one in the first round. And again, with Alex moving up to heavyweight, I don't know what his cardio is going to look like. But again, he just has that one punch power, so you can't ever really count him out. I think this will be a really good fight. I don't see Ciryl being able to finish Alex Pereira. So my official pick is going to be Ciryl Gane by decision, but it's not a real confident fight that I would want to bet on just because of the wild card. But it will be the most interesting fight of the night, so you don't want to miss it. All right, up next we have Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Ayman Zahabi. Now, Zahabi is known for having a high IQ in the ring. He has a really good jab and he knows how to work in his wrestling. And when he does get an opponent down to the ground, he does have a black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, so he is dangerous. Now, we all know there's no secret to Sean's game. He's an elite striker. He is one of the best boxers in the UFC. Super sharp footwork, which will be able to keep him dancing on the outside of the ring, in my opinion. And what that'll do is it'll keep Zahabi moving, and it's not going to allow him for have a good time for a takedown. Now, if you look at their past opponents, the two, I just don't think Zahabi has fought the kind of level that Sugar Sean has. You know, he lost 2 straight fights to Marab when Marab was the champ, and he just beat Song Yudong. Song Yudong is a super heavy puncher, good grappler, and has heavy leg kicks. Sean beat him in unanimous decision. Let's not forget when Sean put that giant knee on Marlon Vera. You could literally hear it around the world. Now, Zahabi has also fought Marlon Vera, but he won in a split decision. So that just shows you right now that Marlon Vera was kind of on the lower side for Sean. He was picking him apart, just playing with him, and he would have been knocked out if he didn't have such a good chin. I think that's kind of going to be the same way for this fight. I like Zahabi. I think he's a good upcoming fighter, but I think Sugar Sean is just going to be too much for him. I can see Sean putting him away, honestly, with the KO, probably in the second or third. And now for what I'm going to say is going to be the craziest fight of the night. We got Josh Hokit versus Derek the Black Beast Lewis. Now, every time Derek Lewis fights, people want to watch. This guy has crazy knockout power. One punch, put you to sleep kind of guy. Now, Josh Hokit is kind of new to everyone. You probably definitely know him now because of his last fight versus Curtis Blades. He was literally flipping Curtis Blades off as he's punching him in the face and getting punched in the face. It was one of the craziest heavyweight fights that I've seen in a long time. You know, the heavyweight division is kind of rumored to almost be dead. So to see someone with this kind of character and this kind of fight style, it's just a fresh revamp, which is what everyone's looking for. And that's why he got this opportunity on this card. You know, not only that, he's undefeated. He's 9-0. He's coming off a big win, like I said, off Curtis Blades. And then he's got some other people here that he's knocked out. But they've all been knockouts so far besides Curtis. Now, Derek Lewis is also known for taking his pants off in the middle of the ring after his fight, an interview with Joe Rogan, and told everyone his balls are hot. Well, if that's what you're best known for, it's probably not good for when you get into a serious fight like one of those guys are about to be in this UFC Freedom card. Now, Derek's coming off a loss to Kosa. He did win against Teixeira, and, you know, he does have that power, but I just don't think that Derek Lewis will be able to handle the wrestling of Josh Hokit. You know, I heard him say in an interview earlier this week that I can't fight him like Curtis Blades because he does have this power. So what's that mean to me? I think he's going to come out right from the rip, go for a takedown. He's not going to want to strike with this guy. I think once he gets him on the ground, Derek Lewis is going to fight like a fish out of water, but I think Josh Hokit will just be a little too quick. He's going to be kind of jumping around. They're going to be wrestling. And I think he's just going to start landing some ground and pound. He might not finish it. Derek Lewis might get up. But I think Josh Hokit wins this one pretty easily. And I think he knocks out Derek Lewis. This is something that I can just see happening more than Derek Lewis knocking him out. I think he's just too athletic. Josh Hokit used to be a fullback for the San Francisco 49ers. So he's just a super athletic human as well. So he's good with his feet and footwork. His speed on the feet will be too much. And I think he KOs Derek Lewis. That you can bet on. In the fight right before that, we have Mauricio Rufy versus Michael Chandler. Now, Michael Chandler is coming off a pretty bad loss to Paddy Pimblett where he looked like he's just lost a step. He looks a little slower. He doesn't grapple as good anymore. And he just can't scramble as fast, which is making him get caught in some tough positions. I love the guy. You know, he's one of those guys, every time he goes out, he tries to get the KO no matter what. He is a good wrestler, but he loves to throw bombs. He wants to be the clip, and he wants to get that KO. He's one of those guys that either live by the sword or die by the sword. And sadly, I think you can call Rufy the Sword. This guy has some really good striking, and with that striking, some really good power. But the dangerous part about Rufy is he doesn't just strike well; he has really good kicks. When he fought Bobby Green, he ended up knocking out Bobby Green with a crazy spinning back kick, and it just put Bobby to sleep. So that's something Michael Chandler is going to have to be very cautious of. Now, if Michael was smart and he really wanted to win this fight, I could see him utilizing his wrestling. But even Rufy's proved in previous fights with Benoit Saint Denis that he can get up. He reversed that position. He did get on top of him to end up separating in that round. So it's not that this guy can't wrestle. And I think over the 2 or 3 rounds, Chandler's going to get really tired. So those takedown attempts will definitely be easier to stop for Rufy. And at that point, he's just going to start picking off Chandler. And sadly, again, I think this is the second retirement fight of the night because after Michael Chandler gets knocked out by Mauricio Rufy, he's going to retire. He spent too many years of his prime waiting for Conor McGregor. He's been just brutally battered throughout some crazy wars he's had, and I think it's time for him to go. I appreciate you, Michael, but sadly, you're going to get knocked out. That's a lock. Ladies and gents, we have a Bo Nickel fight, and who gives a fuck? Why do we keep putting this guy in such prime positions when he's an 8-1 UFC fighter? Fighting people like Kyle Dawkins. No offense to Kyle Dawkins, okay? This guy's coming in on a 5-fight win streak. He's beaten and submitted some good people. He is no slouch, but this is his second stint in the UFC. He did get cut probably 5 to 6 years ago. He worked in some other organizations, won a title, and earned his way back in the UFC, which I love to see. I love that kind of good come home story. But Bo Nickel, he's a dominant wrestler. He's got good kicks, and he has improved in his wrestling. He's one of those guys that are so new in his UFC career. I think he's only been training for like 5 years. So he's learning as he goes, and he is learning at a quick speed. Now, I do think Kyle Dawkins does have an advantage on the feet, and I think that's the only way that Dawkins will be able to win this fight is if he gets lucky enough to not get Bo down on the ground. Now, the thing with Bo Nickel, though, is since he is so new, he's trying to showcase to the fans that he's growing and learning in the sport. So he might actually make this just a straight up striking match, which would be very interesting. Now, I think he's smart, and I do think that at the end of the rounds, he's going to wrestle to try to get some top position. I don't think he's going to do much with it, maybe a little ground and pound, but he's going to want to do enough just to make sure that he wins the round. I don't see him finishing Kyle Dawkins, and I don't sadly see Kyle Dawkins getting the better of Bo Nickel. So I do think Bo Nickel is going to win this one by decision, but it's one of those fights where it could surprise you. It's not going to be one that I would put in my parlay, but if I had to make a decision, it's Bo Nickel by decision. And the first fight of UFC Freedom 250 card will be Diego Lopez versus Steve Garcia. Now, these two guys like to brawl. This will be, in my opinion, the fight of the night. You guys cannot be late to watch this card because if you miss this fight, you're going to be pissed. So, Diego Lopez just came off losing 2 different times to Alexander Volkov with a big win in TKO over Gene Silva in the meantime. Diego Lopez is a very good striker. He utilizes very powerful spinning elbows and he has very creative kicks. The problem, too, is he's an elite grappler. This guy has very good wrestling and he knows how to throw people into different submissions. Now, Steve Garcia is coming in on a 5-fight win streak. This guy brawls, okay? He's always pushing forward. What he likes to do is he likes to throw out his right jab. He throws jab, 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 and all of a sudden, boom, he's going to try to throw a heavy left hand. And that's how he does a lot of damage to a lot of his opponents in the past here. He is a good fighter with good stamina, but I don't think he has any wrestling. So if Diego Lopez wants to, I think he takes him to the ground. I think he gets some ground and pound, and that might slow down Garcia's striking just a little bit. And in my opinion, Steve Garcia has not enough durability to win a fight with Diego Lopez. Diego Lopez gets hit by everyone, honestly, with some of the biggest knockout shots you'd ever see, but he eats it. I don't know how he does it, but this dude's got a granite chin. Now, we cannot say that same thing for Steve Garcia. He's been knocked down in the past, and quite frankly, I don't know if he's going to make it through a war with Diego Lopez. I have Diego Lopez knocking out Steve Garcia probably in the second or third round. But the over under is 1.5 rounds. So does Vegas think these two are just going to go crazy off the start? Let's see. This will be one of the best fights of the night, and I think Lopez wins by TKO. Thank you everyone for making it to this point in the video. If you don't mind dropping a like and subscribe to the channel, it'd be much appreciated. So this is why we're all here. Bets of the week. Lock City Parlay. We got Ilia Topuria by KO, Sean, and Mauricio for total odds of plus 106. The beers for the boys is going to be Ilia, Sean, Josh, Mauricio, and Diego. I like Diego there. Total odds plus 256. And I'm pretty confident in this KO parlay. Ilia, Mauricio, and Josh plus 278. And sorry, Alex. I love you. I think you're a great fighter. But I think Cyril Gane beats you by decision plus 275.